All right, let's try this again.
Listen, guys, we are now officially the old white men that can't hang at the party anymore for a variety of reasons. We can't drink as long as we used to. B, we've got responsibility, and Cheers. C, we struggle when we try and take over the aux cord. So that's us.
Yeah. For reference, or what Alex is talking about is James and I are both in cabins, and yet somehow Alex has had the biggest issues with tech this week. So James, you're still up in the Great White North. I'm in Michigan. Alex is in his wife's home office, which looks nice.
It is very nice. Imagine this in the winter with the fireplace going in the background.
Yeah,
like she did a good job. She's aesthetically pleasing.
Again, she's aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, true, as is her office. So the real question, though, is at 4:20 on a Monday, why isn't she in her office also using it for office-related work?
Bro, she works that 10 to 2 grind, and she got to go get her.
She's really enjoying that being married to a race car driver life.
No.
Or is she, no?
This has been her job forever.
This is textbook definition of work smarter, not harder. And I have nothing but respect for the hustle.
And none of us are in any position to judge.
No. None of us are working today, I guess, except for this, which is very much a laborious work effort on all of our behalves.
At least your guys' ends when we finish recording.
Well,
you're saying your work doesn't?
When you're on the coattails of
That's fair. That's
excellence.
Fair. That is what I bring to this.
Right.
a almost passable ability to edit video and audio is what I bring to this equation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, even though IndyCar is on break, there was some racing this weekend. So I think we should jump right into it.
Which episode are we doing right now?
We're doing the main one right now. We're going to do the Tuesday one next. We're going to do the Q&A next. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah, Q&A we're doing next. But no, we have to start with like the big theme of the last little while and the topic that people want to know most about. Alex, how is your training for the Thumb Olympics going?
I honestly forgot he broke his thumb.
I have a Michael Jackson. I just came from PT, so I have a Michael Jackson glove. But like this thing, she moves pretty good.
She gold.
Okay, all right. I mean, it's better than my pinky, so you got me beat.
I mean, and it's just we are 8 days out, guys, from being on the OR table.
Oh, right.
So
and still like 2 weeks from getting in the car. So
right. So I feel in a very good place. My lovely, actually, it's not a PT, it's an OT because this is a workman's comp situation. My occupational therapist is very happy with the progress. And the swelling's come down a lot. My hand is almost back to normal. It is still black, very black and blue and purple, which is kind of disgusting, but it's working well. So,
James, didn't you have a similar issue after you stopped turning?
Yeah, when I stopped turning, I also had bits and pieces that were black and blue for a very long time. But this is a family show, so we're not going to discuss that.
We're not going to discuss which 2 bits.
Correct. So, Alex, what I'm curious, what exercises do you do to get, is it mobility? It's not strength because you have an atrophy because it hasn't been going long enough. So like, it's just mobility, I'm assuming, right? So what are the mobility exercises? I'm
not going to show it all on the show because I don't need to, but the fat grippy part of your hand, right, is the most swollen. Part. The meaty part is the most swollen. So that's really preventing. So like the main test is like, you want to get to being able to slide your thumb kind of down to there sort of thing.
Okay.
And obviously be able to touch all of your fingers, which I can touch all of my fingers, but like the fatty part is still a little swollen. So like the slide test is like not quite where it needs to be, but like, I mean, it's getting there. It's thereabouts.
What's the slide test? Is this the slide test?
Just how far down can you go? Right.
Because that's swollen. Got it.
Because this is swollen. So there's no pain restricting. It's just skin's in the way. So I can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
swollen.
It's like a thumb block.
Tissue. So did you, what did you get up to this weekend? Did you just kind of have a low key relaxing weekend?
So yeah, it's just chill weekend, man. Just working on, I'm doing a lot of air finger exercises, a lot of icing. Been on my indoor bike a lot, which is depressing considering the weather's been nice. So yeah, the summer break came at a great time for damaging the human body, but also at a very poor time for my mental condition, but that's okay. It was my own fault. So here we are.
You should have just kept turning. Did you have like vacation plans during this time that got scuppered because of this, or were you kind of just chilling in Indy anyway?
We're still going this weekend, I should say, to New York, upstate New York, and we're going to Saratoga to watch some horse racing because I'm a big horse guy now, as we all know.
Big horse guy. What's the horse's name again?
He won't be there,
Flames,
but it's Castle Run.
That was close.
And so we're going with some friends, and we're going to do just Friday to Sunday, 2-night little trip there. And I've heard it's a very, very nice town. Old Scott McLaughlin sings high praises of it because he went to his brother-in-law's bachelor party there. So he gave us some good recommendations of some restaurants and some things to check out. So that was the only vacation really planned, and we're still doing it. So
nice. All right. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. What did you do this weekend, James?
Well, I'm, as Tim mentioned, up in the Great White North. So I never returned post Toronto. We came straight up to the cottage, and during the week had a great time hosting our Daytona 24 teammate Marvin Kirschhofer here at Le Cottage.
Coffer.
Bless you.
And it was great, man. We had a lot of fun. The weather wasn't the best, which kind of sucked. I felt bad for him because it was okay, but it wasn't like sunny and hot all the time. So we didn't spend quite as much time on the water as I would have liked. And we went and actually crashed our buddy Dev DiFrancesco's place for a day because he was also up in Muskoka area. So that was good to see.
So you went to his compound.
Yes. We checked out his establishment there, him and Katie, and got to see them, which was really nice, and meet the puppy. And we brought our puppy, so lots of.
I was going to ask, how was the puppy?
Yeah, puppy's great. Tony's a legend. It's funny. They're almost the exact same age, and they both had a lot of loose teeth, and they played all day, and they both lost 3 teeth within an hour. So very much on the same schedule, which was kind of fun. And then Marvin took off, and Evan was up here too. Evan went home. I had to I had to drive into the city on Friday, which annoyingly was the nicest day that we'd had so far, to film a commercial for one of my partners, right, for CSN. And then came back up, and the weekend's just been absolutely stunning up here. So it's been great. Very relaxing. Heading back to the city soon. And yeah, man, just enjoying time up north.
I asked the question which I often ask you. Why do you have a home in Indy?
Somewhere for Becky's packages to arrive.
Right.
It's basically just an Amazon delivery depot.
Slow up here.
Yeah,
exactly. Just an Amazon package receptacle.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. We don't ever get 3 weeks
to do that.
I haven't found it.
I don't know. Now that I'm selling on Amazon, I'm not sure there are.
Right. What are you selling, Tim?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Talk about the raging success that is Macbeth for kids.
Well, okay. So I didn't bring a ton with me on the flight. I brought enough that I thought would get me over 2 weeks until the rest of them got in. And it didn't last longer than 4 hours from when the podcast came out.
You have more in LA that you could ship, but you just
no. They were already on the way from LA, but they weigh a lot. They're 2 pounds a book, and I was bringing a check bag, so I filled my check bag with what I could. Which
why didn't you just ship them from LA to Indy?
I did. They just aren't here yet. Like, I wasn't going to pay overnight shipping. I didn't think people were going to buy this dumb idea of a book. I didn't think I needed to pay for next day air. I thought it was going to be like, maybe in a year I'll sell some of these.
So you turned off ordering.
I set the inventory for what I currently had, and then it wiped out that inventory. I have the ones from LA on the way, and then because of how quickly that happened, I put in another order for more of them.
Are you concerned
I will have
that the infatuation is worn off, and now
100%.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Very scared of that.
Too.
So yeah. If we could talk about this next week.
You're not selling another book.
Yeah.
The last time
you peaked already, and you didn't have enough to deliver.
Guys,
much like.
You have met me. You know my anxiety. You honestly think this hasn't already occurred to me? You think I haven't sat here and thought this through in every permutation possible?
You're pretty screwed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
No, look,
related. Do you guys want to buy 50 books each?
Sure don't. But very related. And we mentioned this the first time we tried to record this episode today. You seem to have not paid attention for like the last 2 months when every single time we do this show, we talk about how amazed we are at the number of people that come up to us at the track saying they love the show. There's way more people listening than you think.
We've covered this. What I bring to the show is an almost passable ability to edit. They're here to listen to you two.
To listen to this.
True. A lot of them listen. Most of them dislike you, though.
I know. Many of them tell me.
Dude, I got this message from a guy that I wasn't going to ever send to Tim because like I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But I might read it. Actually, no, I'm not going to read it out.
Just send it to me. Send it to me.
Okay. That's all right. Okay. I'm just going to leave some stuff in that's going to get you in trouble then. That's where we're going.
My favorite part about this message was the fact that he used the word jettisoned.
Okay. I can fill in from context clues.
That one's pretty standard, pretty straightforward in what context to use that. But there's a lot of good language in here. I feel like this guy's either like an expat Brit living in North America, or maybe he's actually just UK based. I'm not sure. But
it's funny that Tim would get called out for being crass and not me.
I was
if
just
you'd like to relocate,
one.
This guy can get and go to hell.
Tim, don't talk about Alex and I's dedicated listeners like that. Just because nobody likes you, don't scare them off of our show. Do you know what I was actually thinking of the other day? I was thinking of that guy that like 3 years ago commented that I was too old to wear hats backwards. And now I'm sitting here. Yeah, I hope he still watches and listens, and I hope it still just infuriates him that I'm even older and still do it. Very
borderline ancient. Yeah.
It's old as dirt. Almost as old as Ryan Hunter Ray.
Well, let's not be ridiculous.
Yeah,
Ryan Hunter Ray was there when they wrote the original Macbeth. All right. Well, everybody is having a good weekend. I loaded in the car. Yeah, I loaded in the car with my mom and Hazel, and came up and met my stepdad and some family friends in a cabin in Pentwater, Michigan. Or I was corrected earlier. It's a cottage. I'm in a cottage in Pentwater, Michigan. Right on.
Pentwater's
cool.
On, I do enjoy that part of Michigan. I've ridden a lot of bikes up there.
Yeah. So
I think you've ridden just one bike, but for a long time.
You're right.
Yeah.
I have ridden a lot of miles on a singular bike up there.
There we go. Yes. Yeah. The sentiment is still hold. So you're in a cottage. I'm in a cottage. He's in an office. It's great.
Same, but different.
Well, were you guys able to squeeze in watching some F1 on your weekend?
Well, I have nothing to do other than sit on the couch and keep my hand elevated. So yes.
Hey, that's borderline my life. I just don't have to worry about my hand.
I watched pretty much all of it.
How happy were you that your boy won and then didn't win?
I mean, I had a lot of emotions that varied. Some good, some bad. But here's the thing. First of all, I thought it was the best F1 race of the season.
Interesting.
By a mile. And not because there was like a gazillion overtakes, and not because
there was not
a bunch of crashes, and not because there was yellows and restarts and all this stuff, because that's not necessarily what makes a good race. What makes a good race is there was 4 or 5 cars that had a legitimate chance of winning, depending on, how their pace over the day went and their strategy that they were on and the tires they started on, all this sort of thing. There was the top 15 was never further apart than like 15 seconds. I was very excited to watch kind of a vintage Lewis Hamilton race where, he got a good start, had good pace, overtook the Ferrari and was kind of managing the race and the gap from there on out. The McLaren of Piastri was always a threat and looked super interesting at various points in the race. Carlos was doing a really good job on an alternate strategy on the hard tire to start with. You had Max, who was, obviously going to be coming forward from 11th. You had Sergio doing his standard of going from, wherever to 7th. And you had George, who drove, I think it was the best win of the year. Forget the best win of George's whatever career. I don't know how many he has. I think it was the best win of the year because he not only went on a pretty aggressive strategy that I didn't really think was going to work. He made the decision to go to that strategy in the first place, and he executed it to perfection against his teammate who had the same and the same equipment and caught him, and on a track where DRS is super powerful. And Lewis had a very big tire advantage, and he's Lewis Hamilton of all people. George
7-time
held
champ.
him off for 4 laps, 8-time champ, held him off for 4 laps on degrading tires on a track where DRS is worth a huge amount. So I was blown away by his performance, and I was not happy when he got disqualified. I actually felt bad for him because that sucks to get that one taken away because he earned that, and it was pretty cool to watch.
But here's the thing, and I agree with everything, and I want to touch on a few other points, but just as you mentioned, it sucks for him that he got it taken away. It does for sure. At the same time, he is not running for anything that means anything in the points championship, right? He got to cross the line first. He got to stand on the podium. He got the trophy and the champagne, and he knows, and we all know, and most people know and accept that probably was not enough of a difference to affect the outcome of the race, and that he deserved that win. So I really, really hope that as much as it sucks that on paper it was taken away and his career tally goes down from 3 wins back to 2, I hope he goes to bed at night knowing that he won that race and he deserved to win that race. And I hope that the team and Lewis let him keep the trophy and he gets the memories of being on the podium. It's like different than when somebody gets gifted a race win after the fact, and it's like, yeah, cool, but who cares, right? It's like Pato and St. Pete, right? Pato didn't care. It didn't mean anything to him. He didn't get to celebrate. He didn't get the picture on the podium. He didn't get to spray the champagne or whatever. George at least got that experience. He was
pretty funny on Twitter.
Who?
Pato.
After St. Pete?
Yeah, after getting the win.
Just asking for the trophy back? No.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
But anyway, I'm glad he at least, it wasn't like a 5-second penalty after the flag that took the win away before he got to do all that stuff, right? I'm glad he at least had that moment because he earned it. You're right. But what I loved about it the most, and you said it was his call on strategy, but it's not even like they didn't set out trying to do an audacious one-stopper. This was very much an audible, and it's one that originated from the cockpit. He was like, hey guys, have we considered a one-stop? Because I'm feeling pretty good. And they're like, no, but yeah, sure, let's try it. And that's one of the coolest parts about it, is not only was it not really their primary strategy, it was one that he initiated the discussion about and then executed it brilliantly. So huge credit to him. Obviously, huge credit to Mercedes won too. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card going into the weekend. Checo falling from 2nd to 8th or whatever it was. Not a good look.
That was on a lot of people's bingo cards, though.
That one is a more common thing. But here's the thing. Today, as we record on Monday, Red Bull is supposed to be having the coming to Jesus meeting on what to do with the second seat. So Now that we've discussed the race, let's discuss that. Alex, should Red Bull keep Checo in the car for the remainder of the season?
Yes. And the reason I say this, I would not have said yes had they not extended his deal in Montreal. Like,
so bizarre.
It doesn't make any sense to me unless it was purely trying to see if all of his issues were mental, right? And giving him taking that burden away. No pressure. But we've all seen enough in motorsport contracts that just because you sign a deal, it doesn't mean that it means anything, which is a whole nother topic of discussion and sad and wrong. But they extended him. That was their decision. You can't now not only not validate that contract, but invalidate the current one. That just I don't know how you can do that. I mean, obviously they can do that. I don't know. That's a bad look, I feel like. But on the other hand, they are going to lose the Constructors' Championship by allowing him to stay in that car. But they were going to lose it when they re-signed him anyways. So I really don't understand the re-signing in Montreal because he was up creek without a paddle then as well. So
here's the thing. I think it's come out that part of the reason they did it was to take that pressure off him, right? And to get him in a better headspace and let him drive. The problem is, one race after that, they were immediately already in the media being like, oh, well, if he doesn't pick up the pace, he might not see the season out. So whatever confidence you were trying to give him by giving him the extension lasted all of a week. Because in the media, you were immediately going back to saying, well, yeah, if he doesn't perform by the summer break, if he's got clauses in his contract that say by the summer break, if he's X points behind, he can be cut.
And ultimately, that's the biggest problem with Red Bull is because who the hell runs that program? Because Horner says one thing to the media, and Horner has been very consistent in the sense that we believe in Checo, we support Checo, we want to see Checo succeed. We know he has the ability to. We want to give him the tools. It sucks for all of us that this is happening. We're working on it. And then you have Marco, who's he sucks, get him out of here. But ultimately, Marco has a lot of influence, but he shouldn't really, because I don't know that I don't know. Maybe he does have that final
Hasn't that been Red Bull with everything?
That's been Red Bull forever. So
yeah.
But really more so on the junior side and not so. So Checo never came. I understand Marco's involvement with all of the junior drivers and the Red Bull drivers, but Checo came from outside the system and he was hired by Red Bull Racing, which is not Helmut Marko. So I feel like Checo's a unique case in the sense that and maybe that's why he's still here is because he is not a property of Red Bull. Red Bull doesn't own his ass. They own pretty much everyone else that's been in those cars, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The challenge, right, is, okay, he started second. And after qualifying, it was, oh, well, look, he's found it again. He's doing good, blah, 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 blah. Remember, he actually qualified third because Max qualified first but had a penalty, right? He was
he was
9 or 6/10 or something.
No.
Yeah.
He had 6/10 to Charles.
What was it? Okay, so it's 9/10 off. And then in the race, he starts second, Max starts 11th, Max finishes 5th, Checo finishes 8th. So even if the car doesn't have the dominant speed that it used to, which it clearly doesn't, he's just not performing with it.
Yeah, but you say that, and Max has brought up a very good point, and he's like, listen, our car's taken a big step because I'm not doing what I used to do. So Checo was always a pretty decent chunk off of Max, and now I don't know that chunk's necessarily any bigger. It's just now there's more people in front of him. Yeah.
100%, but there's more people in front of him. The gap that he had to Max was too big. It just used to be that still left you third. Now in a normal dry qualifying, if Max can eke out enough to get on pole, he's on pole by thousands these days. And Checo's barely scraping into Q3. The issue, though, is who do you put in the car, right? There's no obvious person to throw in there. Everyone that they've thrown in there that's not Checo has really struggled. And I know Checo has struggled, but he's also done well at times. No one else has ever even done well at times since Max has been there, I guess since Dan left, right? So you look at the options. They're Liam Lawson. Yeah, we could put him in. He did a good job for AlphaTauri last year when he came in for a couple races. But like, is he going to step up to the pressure of mid-season, not used to the car, jumping in, and still being able to bring home some kind of constructor's points? Daniel hasn't lived up to the expectations and the hopes that they had for him when he rejoined. For some reason, Yuki, who's probably been the most consistent performer of the trio, just doesn't have the confidence of the team. And fair enough. That's a big step up. It'd be a big added pressure. We don't know how he's going to handle that pressure. And the team still needs to score points. So I wonder if they're sitting there and just thinking like, the devil you know versus the devil you don't. Even if Checo's only doing 7th, 8th, at least if he's doing 7th, 8th, some points are coming in. You throw a rookie in or a driver from a different team mid-season, it might take them 3 or 4 rounds to even get into the points if the car's that hard to drive or whatever. So it's not just a slam dunk as he's 0.6 off of Max in qualifying. He finishes 5 to 7 places behind Max in the races. This is not enough. Maybe that's true, but there's no obvious solution. It's a tricky spot to be in because I do believe they are going to lose the Constructors' Championship. Regardless,
so what would you do?
I don't think they have a chance. I mean, leave Checo in because I think the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that he can still on his day pull out a couple good performances. He knows the car, he knows the people, he knows the systems and procedures. And I think they need to, and maybe after this break, if he comes out of this with his job, right, he knows that it's his for the rest of the year, at the least. And so he doesn't have to worry. I mean, like you say, the contract extension happened, and then immediately they were already talking about, well, but if he's not performing, we could kick him out after the summer break. So it didn't accomplish anything in terms of like giving him that feeling of security. But if he comes out of the summer break with the ride still, I think that tells everybody, him included, it's his for the rest of the year. And so maybe then we can see him get back into a place where he's at least contending for podiums again. I don't know. We'll see. The Size to Williams news came out today.
Yes.
Which I was kind of expecting. Because he didn't really have a lot of options.
Still a surprise.
Like where else was a better option? Potentially.
I don't. Obviously, we have no idea what the conversations and the values and the numbers and everything that goes on with that is. But wouldn't you as a driver put Audi as a bigger, like, wouldn't you be more interested in going there than Williams?
I wouldn't.
Why?
And I only say that because it's a new engine manufacturer with some very complicated engine rules coming in. They've had to build from the ground up. There's a chance that they nail it, but there's a bigger chance that they don't. And when you look at Williams, there's investment. I mean, obviously not an Audi level of investment, but there's investment going in. They have a Mercedes power unit. Last time there was a big power unit shift, Mercedes nailed it. Not to say that they're necessarily going to just de facto be the best out of the box, but I would want to lean on the experience of a manufacturer that's been doing it for the last 10 years in this current format. Because again, it's a short-term deal, right? I think Carlos still has hopes of doing 25 and 6 there, and if Williams isn't a race winner in 26, he's got the option to go back somewhere else. So for the short, if you're Hulkenberg and this is your last contract and it's a 5-year deal, absolutely, it makes perfect sense. You've got a chance to try to build it, see it, try to grow, and get to that point. But if you're Carlos, who's thinking more shorter to medium term. Yeah, I get it. I would have done the same thing. I don't trust what's happening at Alpine, even though now they're saying they're ditching their engines and going to Mercedes engines too. That actually might be an okay option. But for what was available kind of at the time, I think he was really making those decisions between Audi and Williams. Obviously, Mercedes wasn't an option. The Red Bull thing never materialized. I agree. I kind of think that's where I would have gone, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I would have. But yeah, that's okay.
There just seems to be so much concern about these new engine rules and who's gonna nail it and how it's gonna go. And I mean, even Red Bull, like everybody's got big question marks around Red Bull and them starting their own power unit. How that's gonna go.
Red Bull has certainly taken a lot of people from HPCC to help assist in that program. So I don't know that Mercedes of 2008 is the Mercedes of 2014 is the Mercedes of 2026, but we'll see.
We will see. That's what's going to make 2026 so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other news that came out was Esteban Ocon to Haas. So Haas's driver lineup is now buttoned up. Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon. Makes sense. I guess that's a good move for him. Better than being unemployed.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, all three of us next year.
So far, that is true. He is more employed than we are. That is very accurate.
Right.
That is very accurate. Thanks for reminding me of that. I was having a nice vacation until just then.
Well, you're welcome.
I did want to step back, though, because we didn't get time to talk about it last week and get your sense on the whole Lando Oscar thing at Hungary.
So I didn't watch the race. I've obviously seen enough clips and read enough about it in the past week and a half that I've been sitting on the couch with my arm up. It was a weird one. Only, and it just goes to show how much more these teams. Well, ultimately, it's not even a fair statement. It is a fair statement, but it doesn't apply here. These teams care about the Constructors' Championship more than anything else. This ultimately didn't matter because it was the same amount of points regardless of who finishes first. But it shows that the Drivers' Championship really is irrelevant to them as teams. And so I guess their reason for switching back is because ultimately Oscar was the A car in that situation because Lando screwed up the start. Oscar got the lead in the first stint. And because Lando and McLaren were trying to cover against losing a position, they actually kind of fell into a very good strategy that was better than Oscar's, but they weren't trying to beat Oscar. They were just kind of trying to protect second place from what I'm understanding. And so because the undercut worked and he cycled in front of Oscar, they were like, well, no, that wasn't our intention. You need to give it up. Lando's point is, doesn't matter. I was on pole and I'm fighting for a Drivers' Championship. The team's point is, doesn't matter. We weren't trying to get you in front of him. You need to switch back. So because it didn't matter in the Constructors' Championship, the team didn't really care. Why they wouldn't want to help Lando take a bigger chunk out of Max is confusing to me. Like, I don't understand it. I understand why they were trying to protect Oscar, but Oscar's not fighting for a world title. Maybe they believe he will be. So that's why they did that. I really don't know. It's a weird one. It
is, look, so in your time in F1, was it ever, and I don't know, like, obviously, your team wasn't capable of running for race wins necessarily, but like, was there ever a discussion where it was you qualified next to or close to a teammate and there was some rule of, hey, all right, you get the first corner or the first lap even, and then whoever leads that lap, that's what that's how the race is being run from there out.
Yes.
Right. So it is completely understandable that when Oscar got the lead on the start, it is now his race. And when you're racing a team car, the car in front gets preferred strategy, which they did on the first stop, and Oscar came out in front and was controlling the pace. But for the second stop, they let Lando have the preferred strategy, which ended up working out. In the final stint, Oscar couldn't keep up with Lando. Lando was quicker. In some ways, Lando deserved to win that race. Had Lando been racing somebody that wasn't a teammate, that's exactly what he would have done. He would have pit sooner because Lando's very good at taking care of his tires and being good late in a stint on tires. And that's kind of always been his strength over Oscar, even from the intra-team battle. So I get the frustration, but that's not the rules of engagement in Formula One. the team says this guy gets preferential treatment. You only got that strategy to protect your second place. And again, we can debate all day long whether or not that was even necessary. When you look at the time gaps, I don't think it was. They left Oscar out for 2 laps instead of 1, so they gave Lando an even better opportunity to overtake him, to create the issue. But then what's your take on Lando's waiting until 2 laps to go to reorder appropriately?
I get it.
It's sending a message. That was very much a deliberate send a message to his teammate.
It's a little messed up. Like it's a little messed up, I think, just because that's 5 points that are left on the table that could have been 7 points. How was the point? 25, 18, 15? 7 points left on the table that when it comes down to it at the end of the year, those are going to matter. And he's going to look back on that and be annoyed. Like, it might not make a difference, but there wasn't a reason for the team other than, let's say, they knew they screwed up big time on Oscar's strategy, right?
Yes.
And it was I don't know what could have happened, but a communication error, a software error, or something. And they were like, we just cost this kid a win. We have to rectify it regardless. That's the only thing that I can think of being is like, they screwed up on pit wall and they were like, we can't take this away from the kid because we screwed up on pit wall.
Well, and that's just it, right? I feel like it's too early in the season when it's not even close. Like, the Drivers' Championship's not even close. So it's a little early in the season to be asking a teammate to give up a win, especially a first win, for a guy that's still miles back at a point of the season where if Oscar goes on a tear, he could end up ahead of Lando in the championship. I just think it's too early to even make that call.
That's
and
fair.
I think that Oscar had done enough to deserve that win.
Right. You're right. And Lando needs to get better at standing starts. No, he does.
It's been rough. No, it's
even in Spa,
like his last 5 poles,
he went backwards.
Yeah.
Like that is a pretty big weakness. And in Formula One, where it's even more track position sensitive than any other racing series on the planet, like that is a critical moment of your weekend. We talk a lot about IndyCar races, and like if you look at what is it, 3, 4, 5 on-track sessions, there's probably 12 laps that are going to like really 15 laps that are going to define your weekend. In F1, like it's probably 4 laps and a start.
Yeah.
And like, that's a very pivotal part of what you have to be successful in Europe. Like that was the same in F2. That was the same in F3. Like the amount of times that you would, and it was high stress because like if you qualified up front in GP2 and you were on the front row, like your weekend was going to live or die by the start you got.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure on it. And it's the same in F1. And it's just like, that's got to be part of your game that's good.
Yeah. And just Lando being the way he is, like we saw how critical he was of himself last year with small qualifying errors, right? And he was always the first guy to call him out. There were races where watching from home, watching on TV, you would have never known that he made a mistake or didn't get the best out of it. But he was the first guy to sit there in the pen afterwards and be like, yeah, well, I screwed up. I lost a 10th here. I did this, I did that. And he put so much pressure on himself, and so much external pressure came down on him because of the stuff he was saying. It was almost like, dude, just shut up. Publicly, just shut up. Like, go back to your team and say, hey, I know, because the team knows what you did, right? The team's got the data. You can't lie to them. But like, lie to us. Lie to the media. Don't tell everybody every mistake that you're doing. That's not a good look. And it created all this pressure. Now, unfortunately, the start one is very, very public. Like, you can't hide that one. He has had, I think the last 5 poles, he has not led the first lap.
Yeah.
That's a very rough stat.
And on like the other end of it, maybe George should lie to the media less. Like,
that's not my takeaway. I think my takeaway from this is everybody should lie to everybody more.
Right.
That was
Tim,
and I think that's
you.
a good. Hey,
you
thanks,
do a
man.
great job on this podcast. We really couldn't do it without you. You're the heart and soul of everything.
no one can even tell you have a receding hairline.
That's why I wear a hat so much. Come on.
Makes it
No one
worse.
even knows if you. No one even knows if you have a hairline, Tim.
That's
Everybody
fair.
just
That's
thinks
fair.
you.
I don't
wearing
even
a
know if I
toupee.
know. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
it's-
sure. Do I? Is that
I
normal?
mean, it's man. When you do that, your
Yeah, it's
forehead is
kinda
much
high up.
bigger.
Yeah.
It's much bigger.
Do I have
I
a
mean, like-
receding hairline? Huh.
Look, if I just did this,
No, yeah. This is a fair point. All right.
nobody would know.
You look
Nobody
like a
would
homeless
know.
person.
We're all getting old.
No, dude,
All
I
right.
look like a whatever the latest generation is. They all like push their hair forward and
No, that was the Justin Bieber generation. You're a generation behind.
Or two. At
dude,
this
I'm
point.
not. I've got friends with kids that are like in their tweens, and this is all the rage. I'm not going to do it. So, I thought I had one more thing, but I don't think I do.
We've done enough
That's too
time. We don't
bad.
have to talk about anything else.
Yeah.
Even better. Bye.
See ya.